This IPL is not as easy as it used to be. We all saw how all sporting activity came to a grinding halt because of the pandemic. Cricket started in England in a bio bubble, and it was a pretty interesting series that England had with West Indies and then Pakistan, which has just concluded. Now they're going to take on the Aussies. Let's cut to IPL 2020, which is going to be held in the UAE from September 19th. And three centres have been chosen for it. One is Sharjah, Dubai, and the third is Abu Dhabi. But already there are some issues which have cropped up which need to be spoken about. First is the Suresh Raina incident. We saw that how Suresh Raina, one of the key players of Chennai Super Kings, took a flight back home under controversial circumstances. So there was quite a bit of debate as to what happened. Some reports suggested that he was unhappy with the room that he had. He wanted a similar suite to Dhoni. And the captain's suite always has a balcony, which he didn't. So these matters yet remain controversial because Suresh Raina hasn't openly spoken about it. Neither has anyone from the CSK side except N. Srinivasan, who's the owner of the team, who was a bit tough, former BCCI president, and he was tough on Raina. Of course, later he said that he had been misquoted, but he did say that Raina acted like a prima donna and he'd regret the opportunities that he has passed up. Of course, Suresh Raina's, in his case, there was this very shocking incident of his uncle being murdered in a Punjab village, and that really upset Suresh. And he said the way his uncle got slaughtered really upset him. He wants to come back. We don't know yet whether he would be allowed to go back or not. Harbhajan Singh, reports are coming in, may not show up for the IPL. He again plays for the Chennai Super Kings and he has personal reasons. Lasith Malinga will not play for Mumbai Indians because, again, for personal reasons. What are those personal reasons? It could be the fear of the COVID. It could be fear of various other factors. We've already seen how CSK suffered from it because one of their key bowlers, Deepak Chahar, and some people of the support staff, they all had COVID. That has sort of created quite a bit of doubt among the mind of some of the players. There are apprehensions. So that needs to be factored in. Kane Richardson, Aussie pacer, he's not going to show up. Of course, he has a different reason that he's expecting his firstborn. So that's a personal matter. And he won't show up even midway because of the quarantine angle or whatever else is going on in his mind. Kane Williamson, New Zealand skipper who will be playing in the IPL, has also expressed his apprehensions ever since the COVID cases showed up. Over and above all this, athletes are facing extra mental health risks as they go from highly active lifestyles to isolation and boredom, experts warn. So this is a factor which is playing on the mind of the athlete who has been used to frenetic activity, training, everything else came to a grinding halt. Mental conditioning coach Paddy Upton has given an interview where he says, and I bring up one or 2 points where he feels players who thrive on external motivation, this is interesting, players who thrive on external motivation and pressure are really going to struggle in IPL 2020, while some of the mid-range players will outperform the big names. Why? Because Upton also says there might be more cases similar to that of Suresh Raina. Because players, what he's trying to say is that in a packed stadium with all the buzz and with everything else happening, there are players who thrive on motivation, who thrive on those kind of aspects. They might find it tougher than those who just are in the zone, who use their own temperament to propel themselves. They might find it easier. Paddy Upton also says that athletes who are internally driven, who find the motivation from within themselves, they are going to be fine, they are going to do well. Your typical confidence players who look for motivation, inspiration or validation from outside, they are really going to struggle. Rahul, excellent bat. He says he's not sure of his batting form as he has not played in any tournament after the break. Rahul admitted they are all nervous for the IPL, but he reckons it is just a part of the sport. But Rahul also gave an interview wondering whether he'll get his cover drive back. His fans would be pretty sure he'll get it back. But suddenly, from absolute isolation to this tremendous activity which is being planned for the IPL, there is a sea change. So can the players adapt? What is going on in their minds? The processes that would come into play. Those are the interesting things related to cricket. Kane Richardson, as I said earlier, he hopes he will get another chance to appear in the IPL in future. He would not risk missing the birth of his first child following his withdrawal from RCB. And he's also worried about the limitations around global travel amid the pandemic, and that was one of the key factors in his decision. The norms are much stricter, and as it is imperative for any new visitor, it could be the major reason for also players like Suresh Raina, Malinga to all opt out for the whole season. But like I said, Raina is still considering, but one has to see what the CSK management does. Kane Williamson, a highly intelligent man who plays for Sunrisers Hyderabad, he says, obviously that's bad news. This is in reference to the CSK players turning positive. You don't want to hear anybody has COVID. I hear they are predominantly asymptomatic, so hopefully through another lockdown period, they can come through and we'll be okay. There is a little bit of apprehension. Certainly as you get nearer to the time, you start thinking you do have to be extremely vigilant and disciplined. You do have to be extremely vigilant and disciplined. So that is playing on his mind, and that is something that needs to be seen. There is stress on the players. Obviously, there is a combination of weather, bio-bubble, protocol conditions, heat. Heat is going to be a very severe factor in the UAE. There are quite a few day matches, and also in the evening, remember, in desert conditions, the transition from heat to cold is quite dramatic, and quite a few players and their team management are worried about that transition phase also. They don't want their players falling sick. So those factors have to be taken care of. Delhi Capitals head coach Ricky Ponting has warned his wards against overtraining in the intense Dubai heat. He says, I believe our preparation leading up to the first game is critical. I want to make sure that physically, technically and tactically the boys are peaking for the first game. And Ponting said this after his first session. He was also worried about the fact that they had slotted in about 20 training sessions before the first game. He thought it was too much. He doesn't want his boys to be overtrained. He wants them to be slowly peaking as they slide in to their first game. Easier said than done. Weather conditions will be a challenge, and not only Ponting but the others would obviously be looking at it. There was a problem of quarantine between Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Dubai has 7 days, Abu Dhabi has 14 days. So the teams that were positioned in Abu Dhabi, like Mumbai Indians and KKR, they were pretty annoyed that they didn't want to sit in on a 14-day quarantine. That matter has been sorted out, but that was a bit of a stress earlier. So like I said, this is a unique scenario. IPL has never been played in a biosecure bubble. There are 8 teams vying for the top honours. It's going to be a longish tournament. It has international players converging from all over the world to play. It is a challenge. There are 3 centres. There will be day-night matches. Of course, the televised audience will hope to enjoy the IPL all over again. The cricket management as well as the boards are hoping that this, and particularly BCCI, they would be hoping, and they do expect that the viewership would be gargantuan, it would be huge, and the advertising money rolls in. But like I said, this IPL is not as easy as it used to be.